I've dropped the kids off on the island to burn some energy. I say kids, they're nearly 20. This is a place I used to come when they were much younger though, and it's a great place to explore because look at it, it's fabulous. And this is a lovely Canadian evening. The lake is flat calm, it's absolutely beautiful. Just seen an osprey, just seen a large stork, and last night we saw a huge beaver swimming down the lake. So I've dropped them off to burn up some energy. Energy is quite an interesting kind of idea, if you like, because everything takes energy. Now, you might think that if you're really, really good at something, it doesn't take so much energy. And if you're really poor at something, it takes quite a bit of energy, because the harder we have to think about something, the harder we have to work, the harder we have to put effort into something, the more energy it takes. Here's the interesting thing. Anxiety takes a lot of energy. I think I'll just take my life jacket off here for a minute or two. It's getting very hot. So, anxiety takes a lot of energy. Now you might say, well, how do I know that? Well, people obviously say, you know, I'm exhausted for being anxious. Well, look at this for a scene. Isn't that just absolutely gorgeous? So, the way that you measure how much energy a mental activity like anxiety takes is to measure what's called cerebral blood flow. And it turns out that when you're anxious, your brain uses more energy, and that's measured by cerebral blood flow. And of course, cerebral blood flow is blood moving around your brain, different areas of your brain, different bits and pieces of your brain. And of course, blood carries oxygen, and your brain uses the oxygen and other metabolites. So, okay, anxiety takes a lot of energy, and that's why people feel very tired from being anxious a lot of the time. But why does anxiety take a lot of energy? Why does it require energy? Well, again, if you think about it, when you're problem solving, when you're doing something which is difficult, or when you're engaged in something that requires a lot of thought or a lot of concentration, it takes a lot of energy, hence a lot of cerebral blood flow. Anxiety is a mistake made by your brain, and it's a mistake your brain can't resolve. Therefore, it's always trying to think about how to resolve anxiety. So worry, for instance, is your brain trying to solve a problem that has no solution. And in other videos of mine, you'll see why that is. But I'll just tell you in shorthand, in a sense, worry is a future-oriented problem, and therefore your brain's trying to solve it in the present. It can't do it. Therefore, it's constantly churning. And I think of it a bit like the CPU, the central processing unit of a computer. If you've ever had a computer that's working really hard, it gets hot because the central processing unit is working hard. And it's a bit like that with your brain. Your brain, with anxiety and worry, is working really hard. Interestingly, in 1997, May 1997, Garry Kasparov, the chess world champion, had a match against Deep Blue, the IBM computer. Now, Garry Kasparov's respiration and heart rate didn't go above normal for him. Deep Blue was having banks of fans to keep it cool. It was physically hot to the touch. It was working so hard trying to beat him. From his point of view, he was just sitting there playing chess. So fabulous, really, when you think about it. In the end, Deep Blue beat him. Yeah, but it took a lot of energy. I've just had to change my SD card, and now I'm letting the boat drift into this bay a little bit anyway. We'll see how we go. So, cerebral blood flow is a measure of how hard your brain's working to manage anxiety. And this has been tested with MRI scans and PET scans, etc. Here's the interesting thing though. Cognitive behavior therapy, CBT, over a program of CBT, reduces cerebral blood flow such that, I'm going to have to move the boat, I think. Okay, let's do that. We're getting a bit too close into this bay here. I think it might be worth my while putting an anchor down actually, which I think I might do. I'll go over there, pop the anchor down. I'll just let us drift in a little bit here, and then I'll put the anchor down. The thing is, I've got the anchor actually tied to my other camera here to stop it from bouncing around while I'm in the boat. So let's see how that works out. Oh, and here comes some fishermen just over there. So CBT reduces cerebral blood flow, and therefore your brain's working less hard to manage anxiety, and therefore you feel less tired and you feel, in a sense, relieved, because you're not having to do so much cognitive effort. How does it do that? That's the interesting question. So there's a fisherman out there. You can just see him out there. What a beautiful day. So one of the ways that CBT, Cognitive Behavioural Therapy, reduces cerebral blood flow is that it gives you a tool set to use to solve the problem of anxiety or depression or panic or whatever. Because as cerebral blood flow is evident in any psychological problem where your brain is working overtime trying to resolve something. So the tool set means that you're no longer struggling to solve a problem with inadequate tools, which is basically what anxiety is. Now you have a tool set so you can challenge negative thoughts, you can challenge automatic negative thoughts indeed. You understand the plot, the plan, and you have tools to stop you from worrying, tools to deal with intrusive thoughts, tools to deal with behaviors and sensations and all sorts of other things. So it's a really good tool set, and that over a period of therapy, which would typically be between 8 to 12 sessions, so that's 8 to 12 hours, will permanently change, reduce the cerebral blood flow when you're anxious. A second way that CBT reduces cerebral blood flow is that intrusive thoughts often feel as if they're meaningful and true in some fundamental way. When you restructure negative intrusive thoughts, you get an opportunity to change your belief system around them. So an intrusive negative thought has power over you because you believe it tells you something meaningful. Typically it doesn't. Typically it's historical, or it's an imagination. And so when you restructure your automatic negative thoughts through CBT, it makes it easier for you to be relaxed about them, and therefore cerebral blood flow and therefore brain energy is reduced. A third way that CBT reduces cerebral blood flow is it modifies the fear network. Now, the fear network is in essence like a neural network in your brain, and well, it is literally a neural network in a sense, but it captures all of the elements that you consider to be fear-inducing. So let's say if you imagined like a London tube map or any kind of really complex city map, all of the houses, all of the little districts, the areas, the roads, these are all a map of the territory, if you like, the terrain. And when you have an established fear network, you're going to feel anxious about various things. And so CBT has the ability to modify that fear network to reduce the power that it has. So for instance, a particular node about going to a particular place can be worked on and extinguished, so that node in the fear network no longer has power over you. Likewise, a person or an experience or saying something or doing something, or expressing a preference, these things no longer have fear attached to them, and therefore the overall fear network, the strength of the fear network is reduced. This is principally the fundamental strategy of behavioural therapy. If you understand how behavioural therapy works, you, in a sense, you regain the ability to move around the environment, because this is no longer frightening, this is no longer frightening, this is no longer frightening. And it definitely works with any kind of phobia, so spider phobia, for instance, which has actually been researched with respect to cerebral blood flow, and CBT for spider phobia reduces cerebral blood flow because it reduces the fear network that is activated when you encounter something that looks like it might be a spider. Take a look at that terrain there. Doesn't that look absolutely gorgeous? This looks like wild Canada, but really it's called cottage country in the sense because there are cottages on the lake. This is a lovely lake. This is Loughborough Lake. Absolutely wonderful. Now you wouldn't believe it, but this freezes completely solid in the winter. And I have made videos snowshoeing across the lake, which is quite some distance. Look, this is the far side. That there is the far side of this lake at this particular spot. The lake itself is about 22 miles long, but lots of islands. This here is just a little island, and that rock just there is another little island. And there's islands. There are islands over here and over there. That's an island actually just over there. So fabulous spot really, and people like to fish here. So what we're aiming for when we're treating anxiety is to reduce the amount of effort it takes to be anxious, which basically means reduce anxiety. And when you can go about your day and it feels, let's say, effortless to go about your day, even if you have the occasional negative, anxious, intrusive thought, whatever, then you have achieved what Garry Kasparov achieved in 1997. You're effortlessly doing what you need to do, and it's not taking more effort or more attention or more thought than it needs to do. And that's brilliant. So I hope you find this interesting, this little trip to this particular island in Loughborough Lake. And thanks for taking the time to watch and listen.